Kiwi cat, born under the TI-333 star sign. You know what they say, racism isn't a system to reproduce racial supremacy, but rather a system to make hella money from cheap workers. It's similar with censorship. Censorship isn't a system to reproduce puritanical aesthetics. No, it's a system to keep people busy fighting with each other and divided. But so, let's take a look at how this may unfold now that we have the situation going. And hey, I'm not saying you shouldn't stand your ground when BS is happening. But personally, well, I do like to emphasize you gotta get ahead for yourself. Don't limit your options in terms of who to work with needlessly. Anyway, let's see what's happening. Normal people, quote-unquote, react to Stellar Blade's censorship concerns. So it's the quote-unquote normal people, says Ref, says Des.
Hey, what's up guys, Ref here. So yesterday we got the official release of Stellar Blade, and the main topic of conversation that has stemmed out of that is the various aspects of the game that have been censored. Now, many bad actors on Twitter, whether it's regular users, game journalists, or content creators, have been using this opportunity to not only justify, but also celebrate these acts of censorship because it fulfills their own agendas. And this has gotten to a very toxic point where now we are seeing literal...
Yeah, there's people who make that stuff their identity, which is just not how you get ahead in life.
Bounties put on people's heads for simply pointing out the censorship of Stellar Blade. This is how bad and how unhinged all of this has truly gotten. Now, if you want the full details on what is actually being censored, you can check out my video from yesterday. But to sum up...
And I understand why they would get tilted over people making bank off of milking this. You know what I mean? But why get mad?
The entire acts of censorship very quickly. There was a promise by ShiftUp only days before release that this game would be released uncensored. However, quickly after it was released, we'd see graffiti.
Like when I say get ahead in your own life, I mean like you gotta build that power, you know? And so then you can do things that are not just silly, you know what I mean?
Censored out of the game, we would see blood get censored, and we would even see the outfits being censored. And to explain the confusion surrounding some of these various outfits, this is the uncensored release that was on the physical copy that was unpatched. However, there was a day one patch that censored this outfit, and the same patch was already installed on the digital reviewer's copy that was released about a week ago. So this has been censored for quite some time. It was done at the last minute, and in fact, since then we've seen other outfits be confirmed as censored as well, and this is something we've seen other...
Okay, what happened here? What did they do here? It's zoomed out on the censored one? Somebody tell me in the comments.
Outfits be confirmed as censored as well, and this is something that has been confirmed by the director of ShiftUp himself. And a lot of people have been critical of Sony and the potential influence they had on this censorship, and also the weird disparity between how they are censoring Stellar Blade versus other games that they publish that are much, much more obscene or just dark or sexual, what have you. Now, there's been many reactions to what's going on with this situation, and a lot of people are trying to fix it. There is a big push, including petitions like this that I'll link in the description.
Maybe the play here is to call out Sony for being Catholicists. Maybe that's the play. And I'm the biggest fan of Christianity, you know, when it's about debt cancellation, as opposed to about sin, because that's what it used to be about. And then there was the switch, the bait and switch, the real flip. Can we get the debt cancellation instead, please? Meow.
We're trying to get ShiftUp and Sony to restore what they took away, to undo this censorship and restore what people were promised with these uncensored releases. However, a lot of people, including some bad actors, have been trying to basically misrepresent what is going on and what people are actually complaining about. And what we're going to look at in this video, whether it's from game journalists, content creators, or Twitter users, is going to follow the narcissist prayer. Basically, you can see the evolution of someone trying to deflect blame, starting with, that didn't happen, and then ending with, well, it did happen, and you deserved it.
Whoa. And see, this is why you gotta have some knowledge base. This is why YouTube is amazing, because you can listen to experts all day long and actually learn something. Like people who have spent their lives looking at empirical evidence, and also from angles that, you know, maybe you haven't thought about, like, because I'm very much on the MMT / post-Keynesian side of things when it comes to economics, and there's certainly people there who've been putting in the work. They see the macroeconomy as a thing, but there's emergent properties that you cannot divine from the small parts. You have to also study the big picture as such. And so you gotta look at that too, and not just work your way up from the individual, right? I mean, why wouldn't there be surprises? There are qualitative changes as the scale changes, and it doesn't take away from how awesome people are as individuals, you know? It doesn't change that at all. In fact, it helps the individual to navigate the world by understanding that, yeah, when people come together, sometimes there's things you didn't expect from the smaller parts.
Now, we've been seeing this first part for a while. That didn't happen. We've seen people for really months at this point say over and over again, there's no censorship of Stellar Blade, this isn't happening. Well, now we have confirmation that it is happening, and people are readjusting and moving on to the next step, saying, and if it did happen, well, it wasn't that bad. And they're accomplishing that by trying to intentionally misrepresent what people are complaining about. So beginning with Alyssa, the Kotaku editor here, she says this. This is about pubic bones. Imagine growing up and learning this is what your dad was doing rather than having a catch with you. And since Alyssa has daily tweets crying about elder male figures, we all know this is just projection right here, but she's trying to say this is about pubic bones that are being censored with these updated outfits. Here's another tweet saying, LOL, they're turning on Stellar Blade because they can't see her vagina. Here's another one saying the fact that the newest Stellar Blade talking point is that the
I mean, I do like the outfit on the right more, but the shirt part is just like, what are you doing?
usual crowd thinks removing the MC's camel toe is censorship should really tell you what their fixation has always been about. And down you can see some replies to that original thread where someone says this. The fact that you think Shay is saying no one is allowed to be horny and not that fix isn't censorship, and the people complaining about the fix need to just admit that they want to be horny is very funny. These people are trying to claim that what's happening is not censorship, when literally everything that's going on, all of the points we made earlier in the video, fit the definition of censorship to a T. Now, of course, all these people are misrepresenting what people are actually mad about and what they're complaining about. They were falsely advertised to. Okay, they were promised this would...
I'm not sure that's the problem here. Let's be real here. I'm not sure that's the problem.
Be an uncensored release, and now this game has been censored on multiple levels, not just the outfits, but other aspects of the game that none of these people are acknowledging. And they are so desperate in their attempt to own the gamer chuds on Twitter that they will literally celebrate.
Why is it being censored? Well, because it's a nice division line for people to get worked up over. Instead of getting ahead in your own life and coming together to get ahead together, so much growth to be had in the world. If you just get away from that toxic tendency of revenue expectations to grow even faster than the real growth that we could be having. So when I mean real growth, I mean practical growth. It's a bit of a mess. That's why I like the MM tiers and the post-Keynesians. Because I can point to them so you can learn something for yourself and see this for what it is. It's a broken promise that ultimately serves you getting stuck arguing over something rather insubstantial. Anyway, let's keep looking at this.
And excuse acts of censorship and false advertising. It's pathetic. But now we move on to the next stage. Basically saying, well, even if this did happen, it's not a big deal. It's nothing to worry about. So here's an example of that coming from an artist from the gaming industry, someone who is consistently talking about Mark.
It is a big deal.
Mark Kern, and they're doing so here with screenshots of his petition that is going around. And he says this.
It clearly gets in the way of you enjoying a product. You can call it horny, whatever. The point is people wanted it and got taken away by the man. The metaphoric man doesn't have to be a real man. It is a metaphor anyway. And it serves to divide people. It's like, yeah, I mean, it is a big deal. What in the world?
Oh my god, please, I can't laugh anymore. My sides, my effing sides. Does this guy have kids? A family? Is there anything that feeds his soul in any way? I don't know, man. I'm so fascinating.
Whoa.
He's trying to say I'm so fascinated by this level of sadness. Like, please work on your grammar. But anyways, this guy's trying to say that Mark Kern is a loser for caring about these things.
Which, you know, if he wasn't so bloody bitter about it, he may have a point. So maybe he's the loser, too. Maybe they're both losers. And also, if you're gonna build this for money on the internet, I don't think you're a loser. I think you're making progress in your own life. That's the first step. And it would be nice if people could also communicate that, like, yeah, okay, this is actually all, like, really kind of whatever. And yeah, sure, it sucks when people take away stuff from you that rightfully should be yours. You should have access to this in the uncensored version. Yeah, it sucks. It's an insult against justice. But, you know, it could be a conversation to be had, like, as to why is this happening.
You know, it's not very shocking that Mark Kern, a longtime member of the gaming industry and someone who is very passionate about this stuff, would care about censorship in the industry. But he's somehow a loser for calling this stuff out. But you're not a loser for tweeting about this guy daily. You look at...
Hell, it might compromise your creative vision. If it's like, if you're a game dev, right? It's like, so of course you're gonna give pushback to people trying to stop you from producing the best product you could be producing.
This guy's account, every single day there's a round of tweets containing screenshots of Mark Kern's tweets, and he's complaining about him. It's every single day. There's absolutely no self-awareness. And also keep in mind, this is the same guy who, when confronted about the fact that Eastern character designs are typically more attractive than Western character designs and asked, how is this happening? He responded with this. Yeah, we can go to the fetishization of plastic, reductive, and hypersexualization of pixels after I'm done cleaning my bathroom from all the diarrhea I had today. And he also made this tweet when someone asked about, the prospect of him losing his job, and he said this: I won't lose my job because I have many friends that I can, and also that he can give sexual favors to these people that will preserve his job. Very normal person, obviously. But in that original thread we just looked at here, another artist would ask this.
I mean, I'm just feeling sorry for them at this point.
As an artist, you should be against censorship on principle. Where this artist replied saying, yeah, I am. I've had my own designs changed after release or things goofed around with by other developers after we release them. I don't really get bent out of shape about it though. It's just a thing that happens. He doesn't care when his stuff gets...
You got to give him one thing though. It is not a thing to get bent out of shape over. And having fun with it and also working on the other things, you know? So... But he does come off as pretty darn bitter and unreflected as to why this is happening. Oh, it's just happening. Dude, what? Why is it happening? If you can't even put together an explanation, then why do you dare to complain about people complaining? I'm all about people complaining if you at least try to have a process for understanding, okay, and you can point to your sources, the experts who you appreciate, as to why you think, okay, there's something deeper going on or whatever, you know? As long as I can see a thought process, great. But this guy's just like, it's just a thing that happens. Like, come on.
Censored or altered. It's just a thing that happens. Who cares? This dude made this thread a week ago, complaining about how some of his designs were altered when he was working for various gaming companies. And when describing his feelings about these alterations, he's...
Again, feeling sorry for this person, though. And he was pissed off. He was pissed about it.
Says... I was pissed about this. So you do care. This was made days ago. I don't know if these people...
You just can't be arsed to actually come to understand why this is happening. Right? I mean, it's a cope, and, so you have to feel a bit sorry for them, but they should probably not speak up. They're just venting at the wrong person, the wrong group of people.
People have the memory of a goldfish or something, or they really are just lacking self-awareness to that degree. But these people are unbelievable hypocrites. There's nothing consistent about them.
But that's okay, by the way. It's okay to be a hypocrite as long as you put in the work.
Whatsoever.
As long as people are gonna keep coming. If you put a good piece of product out there, people are gonna keep coming. And so he got something working for him there, right? It's just annoying that he's gonna muck up the space with his venting. Like, we're barking up the wrong tree, mate. And yeah, sure, it works for you because you're doing your job, getting paid. It's like, yeah, good for you, but somewhat insulting that he's doing that.
And it's definitely expressed in interactions like this. We've seen other people here saying, holy shit, this is the single most embarrassing thing I've ever seen, referring to the petition, where Savvy makes a very good point. Do you support this as well? Are your views consistent? Talking about censorship of LGBT content from Saudi Arabia. Now, of course, again, if you want to talk about embarrassing, this person refers to themselves as an it. I don't know. But let's move on to the next stage of the narcissist prayer. We're going on the stage of, well, if it did happen, it's not my fault. I'm not to blame for this. And we see this reflected in another tweet that Keith has made about Mark Kern. Keith has been riding Mark Kern like he's trying to win the Kentucky Derby, okay? He has been absolutely obsessed with him. Every single time Mark Kern takes a breath, this guy's fingers are already moving on the keyboard to make another tweet about him. It's actually insane. So he says this: Grum's being shadow banned on a website that prides itself on free speech should tell you all there is to know about the guy as a person. This is also crazy behavior over some video game panties. I've heard nothing but positive things about Stellar Blade. Crazy grifting. Now, of course, once again, trying to misdirect what's actually happening here and what people are complaining about, but also this point about being shadow banned on Twitter as proof that you're a bad person or a stupid person. What are you talking about? You can literally drop a curse word on Twitter and you might get shadow banned for a month. It means absolutely nothing to be shadow banned on Twitter. But in the replies, someone corrected him and said it's not about sexy outfits, it's about censorship, where Keith replies saying, I can agree, I would rather no censorship be in place. But it's always that. I normally don't care about censorship. I don't want censorship to happen. But as soon as you hear the but, you know you're about to hear something really stupid. So he says, but complaining about seeing 40% titty instead of 50% titty is some incredibly weirdo shit to complain about. Like, you couldn't waterboard that info out of me. Now, of course, we've seen this sort of logic many times on Twitter with the Stellar Blade discourse. People saying, oh, you hate the censorship, just go watch porn. Oh, you're so obsessed.
Those tweets on the left say it just keeps getting worse. But so for me, it's like, it probably won't keep getting worse. Because then you run out of people who are gonna side with you, right? You got to strike the balance. If you go too hard on the censorship, people are gonna be like, not join the group. People, they won't be reproducible. This kind of like pro-censorship on aesthetic grounds movement. So if you go too far, it's a problem that solves itself in a way. There's always gonna be a push and a pull.
With these titties, you're a weirdo. And of course, you can reply with this absolutely golden interaction, basically saying your obsession with the anatomy of people, the fact that you can't see anything with a hint of sexuality without having like these compulsive thoughts, that's on you. Don't get mad at me because I can just look at something and not immediately have these crazy hyper reactions to the slightest bit of sexuality in a video game character. But moving on, someone asked the perfect question. Why change it if it doesn't matter? That pretty much can be asked of all these people talking about the censorship. If this stuff doesn't matter, if these little things don't actually matter, then why would you change it in the first place? Where Keith replies saying, why are you asking me this? I have no control over it. Well, actually, you do have control over it. You have large accounts, and you've been supporting censorship of things you don't like. Of course you have control over it. You're supporting what's happening. You can actually raise your voice and try to do something to stop this censorship, but you don't want to because it doesn't fit your agenda. And we've seen...
You don't have an obligation to raise your voice over random pet issues that people have about like, oh, character getting less sexy because of Sony, or like pressure groups, or on Sony's balls. It's like, you don't have a responsibility to attend to random people's pet issues. Now, I would be annoyed. I would find it problematic if they were like for the censorship. Like, if you're gonna speak up about the issue, you might as well point out that it's ridiculous to do this kind of stuff. And but I mean, if you want to get involved in the first place, I see good reasons why you wouldn't want to. Fair enough. Plenty other good things you could do to get ahead and work together with people, so you can all get ahead together. Called win-win.
People raise this, who cares, right? With the Tomb Raider released recently by Crystal Dynamics, when they're removing these posters in the background. Small change, but why do it? And you see people saying, why do you guys care? Well, why do you care that they were there in the first place? Why'd you have to remove them? And in fact, talking about, what can I do?
He's such a concern troll, right? That Twitter poster there is like, oh, I don't care, but I'm gonna be like talking about it.
Well, people have complained about this, and guess what? They restored it. They went back on the censorship. So you can do something, you just don't want to. Even if it's hard, you can still point it out, even if it's something that you personally...
I feel like the world is objectively a tiny bit better for that getting restored. And there's people who feel like the world is a tiny bit worse off now, because they got restored. But so in the grand scheme of things, it's it's something you can do on the side, but it's not gonna be the most important thing in your life, I hope. And I feel like most people understand that, actually. That's another thing I've been encountering, is people think just because they see all the crazies on Twitter and whatnot, that everyone's like that. But no, I'm pretty sure that's just a small minority. Most people you're gonna interact with, you can actually work with and get stuff done. That's what I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but hey.
Don't care for in a game, without having to call people weirdos or excuse censorship because it fits your agenda. But moving on, we are going to the next aspect of this, really the end. We're going to skip right to this last one saying, well, it did happen and you deserved it. Or, well, it did happen, but it's actually better. So we have a lot of tweets like this saying, if you actually saw a woman in real life, you'd realize that they actually made the outfit more attractive. First off, projection as usual. But here's the thing, okay? They're trying to say that this is actually better. Adding the black lace here behind the outfit is making it more attractive. First of all, that's your subjective opinion. Some people agree with you, some people will disagree. Yeah. While that is a subjective opinion, here is an objective fact. They advertised this game as something that was uncensored. They went off and censored this game. That is what people have an issue with. I don't understand why you're so obsessed with justifying this. Why are you intentionally missing...
I'm still not sure about the false advertising thing. It's like, I don't think anyone cares about that, actually. There's, people do care about the thing getting censored, not that they were lied to.
the point so much to the point where you're celebrating these changes.
Like, of course, lies are bad, but this is such an expected course of action. Not like they're gonna not sell the game on Sony store. I mean, what do you want? I think people understand that much, right? So they care about the product being slightly worse now in many people's views, and that's a fair view to hold.
Changes that go against promises. You're saying it's actually better. It's insane, and it's only based on your.
It's also a fair view to be like, oh, it's better now. I mean, I see some benefits to the change in the outfit and some downsides. So it's like, yeah, I mean, the problem is that Sony pressured them to change it, and that this is ultimately in service of riling up people over some issue that's really marginal to everyone's lives in a way, but it still sucks that it's happening. Still suck.
Subjective view while you ignore the objective reality of what is wrong with this situation. And here's another one. We hinted at this earlier in the video. So Mark Kern was pointing out some of the outfits that were uncensored, and you can use them as a reference point to see what is being changed by the day one patch. And this user says, $20,000 to anyone that makes this dipshit disappear. And Flash here asks a question, isn't this a crime? And I will answer by saying yes. This is essentially trying to basically get a hit on someone. This is absolutely insane behavior. These are people making genuine threats to someone else on their life over calling out censorship of a video game. That is happening, by the way. This is happening. It's not like this is some tinfoil hat conspiracy. These acts of censorship are actually happening, and you want someone game-ended over calling it out. And these are the normal people, right? And of course, realizing the severity of what they just said, this person would delete the tweet, private their account, and then eventually deactivate. And, good luck to you. Hopefully you don't catch any charges from this situation, because that...
Yeah, I mean, good for them, because Twitter, you can say whatever you want and maybe get boosted for saying outrageous nonsense. So, hope they got off of their 1 day of fame there and are gonna be a better person for it. You never know. And again, most people aren't gonna permanently be this person on this 1 day. You know what I mean? So, I wonder where they'll be in 5 years' time, by the way. Maybe they'll be a free speech advocate and also understand the nuances. You know what I mean? I never know what people are gonna be turning out to be. Maybe they'll be bitter, but at the very least they'll be tapped out. They'll be just doing something that's not gonna get in the way of people trying to get ahead and making the world a better place in an actual way, like economically. So again, there's all this growth we could be having sustainably if we don't run into this issue where aggregate demand growth expectations tend to eclipse actual realizable growth. I'm optimistic there.
That is some very, very serious stuff that they were saying about Mark Kern. Now, that's going to do it for this video. That's where we're at with the reaction.
Alrighty, yeah, that was pretty wild. I hope that's not what normal people are like, and I don't really see good reasons to believe that they are, most of the time anyway. It was fun though, that was entertaining and somewhat interesting. And I got to rant about the post-Keynesians being pretty good. Anyway, hope you have a good one. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and share the vid if you feel like there was something to it. It's gonna help somebody. It's gonna help you that you could discuss with somebody who wanna discuss you. So maybe that's a good thing to have that kind of relationship to the content you share. Maybe get into the ring yourself. Maybe make videos yourself. It's gonna school your thinking at the very least. And in 5 years' time, you could be somewhere completely different. All right. So I wish you the best out there. Sincerely, stay safe, and I hope we meet again now.